Hey everybody, welcome to the Baja HQ. We're in San Juan Capistrano. It's a blustery, beautiful day. It's clear and sunny, but a little windy. So if Heli Jim's going to land on top of the building today, you probably should be a little careful with that side wind. We have a pretty awesome panel of people here. First of all, I want to thank Austin Farner, who is FishGistics, for bringing us this wrap-up show from the San Felipe 250 and all of our other comments we may have about all kinds of other things as well. We want to thank Team Ford for being our presenting sponsor of this show here today. Of course, Steve Olagus, a driver of the number 27. Normally, at this year's San Felipe, he raced a different number because someone was holding his number. Can you believe that?
What?
Yeah, he didn't race the 27. But we're here on FishGistics, Cameron Steele, along with Fish. And then to my side, my co-host, my super donkey, the man with the hair, the man with the mullet, the man on television nowadays. I'm a little frightened to say that, Mr. Pistol Pete Sohren. Welcome, Pete.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, considering I'm sitting next to you.
Yeah.
That's a little dangerous. Also,
yeah, you're a little nervous now because I got some good questions for you.
Okay, so we'll talk about that later. But of course, it's going to be very interesting, I'm sure. I want to introduce Andy McMillin, of course. Doesn't need much introduction. The number 31. He finished fourth at San Felipe. One of the big favorites going in. I think Pete and I both picked him in the top 5. And next to him, his cousin, Danny McMillin, who had a pretty adventurous week.
It's Dan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. It's Dan McMillin. Sorry. He had an adventurous week leading into the race. We'll talk a little bit about that, but had an awesome race. Actually finished 6th overall, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately for him, Ryan Arcerio is just a little faster, who's sitting next to him. You can punch him if you want to because you're in close proximity. And the 5th overall spot, Ryan Arcerio in the Levi's trophy truck. That's a really cool sponsor. We'll talk about that. And next to him, Adam Householder in his all-new Herps fabrication truck. I believe 7th overall. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah,
so we have quite a list of hitters here as far as trophy trucks go. Now, we would have had the entire top 7 if your brother Luke hadn't got weak on us, Danny. What's up with that?
I don't know. He got a penalty in the race, but I think the real penalty, he's not here. That's the real thing.
They're going to give him additional penalty on FishGistics.
Yeah.
He's going to Hawaii.
His odds are getting dropped a little bit for the 500.
Yeah, his excuse is that he's going to Hawaii for the week, so
he's
he can't come on the show.
Girlfriend, allegedly. Not proposing, maybe not.
Oh, dropped it right there, just like that. Unbelievable.
Race debate.
That's good. So it's an open forum. You guys can shoot your questions in on FishGistics if you guys are watching, of course. Live, you can comment after. Please share it right now. Every share is worth $20 to me. So if you share right now, that's going to help me be able to pay for my trophy truck addiction, which we have the number 14 right behind us, which I'm sure Pete's going to love to have all kinds of questions about.
Yeah, I can't tell which one's the 14 and the 16.
You like that?
Now. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That's
neat. It's a good game that we're playing.
Yeah.
Of course, we're talking San Felipe 250. My opinion, Score International did a great job overall. It was a very interesting race course. Of course, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the accident that happened during the race, and we wanted to say all of us together collectively that we're thinking about the families of those obviously who passed away, the families of those involved in the incident, and we're not going to talk a lot about it because we don't have any information about it, but of course it's something that's heavy on our hearts anytime something like that happens around one of our races.
Yeah, and one thing we want to do is talk about safety and talk to the spectators out there and try to help everybody learn from mistakes of spectators and of the drivers. Hey, you need to be careful out there, and you need to stand way back from the course. The drivers seem like they're all in control, but it only takes one mistake or one broken part to send the truck into the crowd. So everyone needs to be careful and very vigilant on trying to be safe when spectating down in Baja.
For sure, and I think, coming out of the race, the most outspoken person, of course, we all reposted his comments, but Andy, you've been really outspoken about a couple of topics. This is something that you really came out hot on. Is there a particular reason why this obviously you seemed almost like you were enraged about it right after the race.
Sure.
And enraged maybe isn't the right word, but it's definitely something that was coming from the heart.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I grew up around this sport, so I've seen a lot of stuff happen down in Baja, and been a spectator many years myself. So there's 2 choices I had. One was just to kind of sit back and let it keep happening and not really say anything about it, which I feel is an injustice to our sport and just the platform that I'm able to reach people at. So I just, took it upon myself to try and reach out to everyone and just try to raise awareness about how sketchy, standing so close to the race course is. And like Pete said, just in the blink of an eye, we look like we're in control in those trucks, and there's so many things that make those trucks go forward and not have an issue that, it only takes one little thing and it could be a really big disaster. So, I was just trying to do my best to let the people, try to be more aware of it, aware of their surroundings. And, we all go down there to have fun, and we want, the racers, our pit crews, and all the spectators to make it home safe. And that's my number one priority. So, when I see videos and pictures that were posted, and
the photo you posted of my truck was pretty telling.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I went by that same guy. And it was gnarly, and I remembered it right when I went by him, when I got to the finish line, when I got home. That image just kind of stuck in my head as the sketchiest thing that happened to me during the race. So I just, the more we talk about it, the more we share about it on social media, the more people we can reach. It can only help.
We actually have the video right here, so we'll play it for everybody to see what he's talking about.
And the promoter has been working on slowing people down around spectators. We have now a speed zone by Zoo Road and all that. But as spectators, if you see another spectator doing something stupid, you can easily grab that person and get them off the track and wise them up any way possible. I mean, there's a lot of other spectators standing around that guy, and sometimes you have to tell people, hey, they're doing something stupid.
The more I watched that video, I just kept rewatching it when a fan, actually the guy who took the GoPro, sent it to me. And I asked him, because he said, "Oh, thanks for sharing my video." And I said, "Well," he's like, "Can you tag me in it?" And I said, "Well, was that GoPro sitting there? Did you run out right before I got there and place the GoPro? Because, that's honestly part of the problem.
For sure,
is guys running out in the track and putting a camera down, putting, their video camera, and getting cool shots of the truck so that, guys like us repost it after the race. And then the more I was watching the video, I saw behind the guy who was standing there, maybe a 12, 13-year-old kid who lets out a big scream right when he sees me in the truck coming. And that stuff is, it's gnarly, it's scary, and hopefully we can, affect some change down there.
Education's a big part of it, and I think that SCORE has done a commendable job over the last few years. They've definitely built videos. They've tried to put the information out both in English and Spanish.
Yeah, agreed.
You can never do too much, in my opinion, but I did want to say that I thought that everybody at SCORE has been working hard to try to educate, and it's on us to keep perpetuating that and helping spread that education. And we've all seen it, right? People, what I can't understand, and what totally blows me away is, why does anybody want to run across the race course right before the trucks get to them? Why do they want to do that? It makes absolutely no sense.
It's funny. Josh Daniel sent me a text and after my post, and he said, I totally agree with everything that you're saying. He's like, but think about it this way. You guys, we're fortunate to get to go down and race and have that adrenaline rush of being in a race. And a lot of the spectators don't have, a motorcycle, a quad, an UTV, a race car. And so their adrenaline rush is during the race to go out there and try to get close to the truck, try and touch the truck, run out in front of the truck. And, to me, when you're messing with life and death, it's so fragile. That's not acceptable to me. But, to other people, that's how they get their fix in. That's their gig.
Yeah.
It's hard because, like both Cameron and Pete said, SCORE's done a phenomenal job. I think, there is no perfect scenario. It's hard. How do you police 320 miles of race course?
You can't.
You can't. It's physically impossible.
No, but the fans need control, and I think the fans have done a great job. The booby trap thing has pretty much gone away.
Totally.
It is,
which I think, I think part of it, what I was always saying was I thought the fans in Baja Sur were much more respectful. I started saying that, and I think the people, not what I said, but overall, I think everybody in the northern part of Baja is also listening now. The booby trap thing's kind of gone away, and we like that. Thank you. Don't do it anymore. But the safety thing has got to change. And I'll tell you who you'll never see standing too close to the race course: a race car driver, someone that races in the races. You'll never see one of us standing near the race course in close proximity to it. We'll be out there. we'll pick a spot, but we're going to be safer about it. And the fans just got to know that it's not a good place to be.
And when I'm watching, because I took some time off from racing and went down and supported my sister racing, and I made sure there was, multiple chase vehicles or something in between myself and the racetrack when I was standing there. I'm like, hey, I know what these things are capable of. If they lose a tie rod bolt and the thing shoots to the right, what's going to happen? And so I'm always thinking, of an exit plan.
I agree with you. I do the same thing. Never stand with your back to a chase truck.
Right.
Make sure you have a place to move to if a car gets out of control.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you don't see people heeding that.
Yeah. One that really scared me, I was coming into Morelia Junction. We were the first trophy truck on the road. So I think we saw a lot of stuff maybe. And, there's not really, like, when you're coming into Morelia Junction, there's like a slight turn. It's not really a big turn.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going through there 80, and there's a canopy right next to the race course, and there's a kid that's like 12 sitting in the chair right next to the race course.
You never want to be sitting in a chair when the trucks are coming by.
Isn't it amazing how you can pick that when you're driving, your eyes fixate towards that?
I could see the panic in his face that he realized that he shouldn't be there. And his whole family was sitting next to him, nowhere for him to go. And it just, those situations, it's not a good idea. It scared the crap out of me, but it's just, we're talking a lot about safety. We're going to talk about the race wrap up, of course, but,
And we're talking about safety right now. I want to talk about the way we did the race this year, where we allowed us racers to pre-run and race from VCP to VCP. And when I see some of the videos post-race, that looks to me like it was kind of a big mistake in spots where the racers were taking lines that were legal, but they would come back in where there's tons of spectators, and SCORE obviously didn't think about that. They needed to add some VCPs to get the racers back on the main line before they went through those huge spectator areas.
Yeah, when they were pre-running, the spectators weren't there, obviously, on the lines. So they
all lines were open.
And
SCORE did, at the drivers' meeting, SCORE did mention, Jose G did say, that if you're on a parallel line, there could be spectators on that line. If any of you guys remember, sorry.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. So,
but
you're,
I think that's part of the point.
You're absolutely right.
I think that's part of the point is before the races, after the races, I'm very vocal with Jose G.
Yes.
I contact him a lot, and I talk about BCPs. I talk about safety. I talk about legal alternate lines.
Because I think some of you guys wanted to add some VCPs before the race. At the drivers' meeting, he did not want to do that. And when I watched those videos from race mile 67, obviously we've all seen the one with BJ where he runs over the people's canopy. He did it very slow. It was danger them, but he scared all the people and tore up their stuff because he had to get back on the track to get to the VCP.
Yeah.
And we saw videos of Rob driving around behind. I don't know who they were. I just saw a few of the videos.
Yeah, I mean,
we have them all right here, people.
Yeah.
It's a good example that sorry, Dan distracted me.
I mean, come on.
It's a good example because I talked to Jose G. I said, hey, there's this access road over here. I know it's there because we raced it in 2012.
This is what
and
you're
the
talking
race
about
course
right
is
here,
over
right?
here. Yep.
See, you look on
And
the
he
left
said,
there,
and he said, be careful of that line on the access road because there's probably going to be people. So Jose G's done a great job, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Okay, now you guys explain.
I'm pretty sure Luke brought this up to Jose and said, you should do something that's going to be dangerous. He said, nope. Basically said, no.
Okay, you tell me which experienced trophy truck driver did not realize that was going to happen. What was wrong? Rob Mack knows that's going to be
I had a line
full of people there. Why did he do that?
A half mile back because I knew there were going to be people. So I got over.
So you cut back over.
I got over before, but still, even when I came back, there was much more clearing in between vehicles, and I obviously came back onto the course at like 2 miles an hour to be safe.
And I made a post.
I made that call. I said, hey, there's going to be people there. I had chase guys here. Because I said, hey, if there's people there, let me know so I know to get back extra early.
Right. Well, I said the same thing on RDC. I said a post. What's going to happen when Ma and Pa spectator are watching the race and the kids are out playing, not on the course, but now the race trucks are coming not on the course.
Right.
Because they don't know.
Over a couple 10-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Oh my! Can you imagine?
They know where the race course is based on the score markings and based on GPS. So they're not expecting you to do anything other than that.
And the trucks are not on the line.
So the line we're talking about is coming in race mile 68, and more or less it's an advantage if you're on this fast greater road behind the race course. It's within the realm of what's plausibly good for the race. We talked about it at drivers' meeting.
And the access into there's an eighth mile from the main highway into San Felipe, so
Yeah.
it's
It's going to be full of spectators.
So for me, I was right on the race course because I knew it was going to be busy.
Too.
And I think some of it's on us. Some of it could be, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But I think
None of it was the spectators' fault, in my opinion.
I think in the end, what needs to happen is that we need to police ourselves a little bit better. We should have said no one was going to do that, because the only reason anybody did it was because they were worried someone was going to get that 40-second advantage, and they didn't know for sure there was going to be people there, right? Sure. Everybody slowed down, everybody was cool, but still, it's not the right situation. So us as the drivers, I think we need to police that better amongst ourselves, and it would even be worth, and I was one of the huge proponents of a speed zone going into Zoo Road. I think I'm all in for the speed zone. I mean, I would like the race wide open. But where I like the race wide open is where no one's around, or people are,
safe distance.
When it's right in the middle of the chaos.
It was a lot less stressful. You know, it was just easy. You didn't have to do 80, 100 miles an hour through there, bouncing across people.
I slowed down to as much as 45, and I went across the road at probably 52 miles an hour. I always slowed down there, even when there wasn't a speed zone, because I felt like it's too crazy for me, and there's just too many possibilities right there. So I commend SCORE for putting a speed zone there.
100%.
Yeah, going back to, we're talking about the safety things and what you had said, Andy, about people having the perception that we're completely under control when we're driving these things. That's probably a good example of a section that you're dancing with the truck at that point. You're going anywhere from 80 to 90 to, Abdali's going asinine, and you're dancing with the truck, and you're making small inputs to keep that thing pointed straight.
Yeah.
At any point in a split second, that truck can take off left and right, and then you're behind it at that point trying to gather it back up.
Yeah.
And to me, the risk versus reward is just not there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fine lines to discuss. I think what's cool about this conversation is that I think every trophy truck driver is in agreement that we can check ourselves, work together to make it a little safer. Maybe a couple more VCPs, maybe a couple delineated lines. Hey, this area is only on this race course, and everybody use your heads. Like I said, speed zones are good in some spots, and I think this will just develop, but everybody seems to be in agreement. Even Pete.
Andy, you say you talked to Jose G after and before the races. Would he be open to a small panel of drivers to help put VCPs where we know the spectators are going to be, to make sure we stay on the line, at least in those areas? So we're where everyone's driving down the same line where all the spectators are. Yeah. So they can get a show, and they're in a safer environment.
Yeah, I brought that up to him in the past. I've talked to Cameron about some stuff too, about just getting like you said, a small panel, a little board of just representatives that have a lot of experience racing down there, that know where the hot spots are. They know where the danger spots are. And like Cameron said, SCORE's done a great job of implementing some of those changes. And it's stuff like this line where, you might not think there would be an issue of trucks running through multiple lines, running through people's camps. But as long as
But a guy like you knew that beforehand. You knew that was going to be an issue.
I assumed it was, yes, just from, racing San Felipe, 12 times in the last 15 years. But as long as we can learn from this, and we can, work on making positive changes for the future of the sport and the safety of us and the spectators, I think that needs to be at the top of the priority list going into the Baja 500 is, where are some of those hot spots going to be? How can we help use our voice to get across, to Jose G and the SCORE people to help keep everyone safe?
You said Baja 500. We've talked a lot about safety. We all agree we need to make some moves there. There have been some great strides made by SCORE and by Best in the Desert and all other orgs. I think some of the topics, bike spacing or bikes in front of the trophy trucks, we've eliminated already in both orgs the UTVs in front of them. Talked about the lines, talked about some added VCPs, talked about some speed zones. So there's a lot to talk about. But we're going to move on to the Baja 500. We don't want to bore everybody with this because, not that we're boring them, but we don't want to keep regurgitating it. Let's talk about the Baja 500. But before we do that, let's talk about the San Felipe 250, because that's what we're here to talk about. I'm going to push the button right now, and believe it or not, Rob Mack was not able to come here today because he had something that came up with his family, and he was fully committed to come, as was Luke McMillin. But Rob's still going to call in, And I think that he's
Here we
calling
go.
in on Pete right now, so hold on one second, Pete. I did want to say hats off from myself, the Desert Assassin. I'm sure everybody else agrees. Rob Mack took us to school. He put the win down. And Rob, although we love to hate you, we do admire your excellent finish. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Right on, Rob. Yeah, we miss you. I saw you out at Lucas Oil the other night kicking some butt in Pro 2. That was a great show.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool racing at night, and it was good to see you there, and there was a lot of fans, that's for sure.
I think, Rob, if we could come to this agreement that you win at short course and then get out of our hair in the desert for a couple races would be cool.
Yeah, okay, whatever you say.
Not so much. Hey, so let's talk a little bit about your race. I know Pete has some questions for you, but maybe give us the Cliff Notes version of what it looked like from the winner's circle.
San Felipe?
Yeah, San Felipe.
Okay. It was good. We drew 6 and really just got off the start. Slowly started making time on the truck that started in front of me. About mile 15, 16, where we turned left to go in the sand wash, I was in the dust of Brian Arcerio. There was a few multiple lines there and ended up getting by him. And next guy, Adam Mouseholder, had a flat, got by him. And then about mile 55, got by the Timmy Long. And it was really dust free for a while because your self cam and each one and two were gone. I couldn't even see your dust, so started to try to push to catch up to you guys, and we started getting a little closer. By the time I got back to Borrego, Bean pulled in. I think he got gas or tires or something. I don't know what happened at Borrego, and he pulled out right in front of me. So that was an opportunity that we missed. We would like to get in front of him then, but we followed him all the way to about 2:20. Pulled over, got gas, and then there was only one truck in front of me, and we knew at that time, we knew Luke. I was told Luke was actually beating us on time by almost 2 minutes or so, which surprised me from starting back there. And then I was really just push hard, and I ended up clipping a rock before Matomi. Got a right rear flat, got that changed. Bean didn't get by me. I thought he would have because he'd have been close. And then really we lost communication from that point really to the finish. I never really knew where we were for sure. So we just had to push hard to make sure we had a chance at winning, and we didn't have any problems and came home. Got there to the finish line, and I knew, that we had you covered, Cam, but I was worried about Luke and maybe somebody else because we didn't have any information. But it worked out good, and again, a lot of people in San Felipe as well for spectators.
Yeah, did you must have seen a lot of craziness out there on the course of yourself.
Yeah, as always, whenever we're in Baja, you have to expect the unexpected. I tell people, I had a co-rider years ago, riding only Best in Desert races, and he got to ride, I think, a 2016 Baja 1000, and I wanted to prepare him, and the best thing I felt I could say to him is, when we're racing in the States, it's this way, what you're used to, but when we're going to go to Baja, it's like going into a video game. You have to unexpect the unexpected. There may be ranchers, cows, who knows, spectators, but you have to be thinking at all times, to expect anything. And, Baja, tons of people, San Felipe, getting the selfies and, all that sketchy stuff that happens that we all worry about and we have to be cautious about. But I'm sure you guys, we all got to come up with some resolutions to that with scores help and the people from Baja, the spectators, trying to educate everyone to stay farther away from the track.
Hey, Rob, I got a couple questions about San Felipe. Obviously, we've all seen the videos where you came into 67 on the preferred line. A guy with your experience, how did you not realize there was going to be full of spectators there?
Whammo.
Well, great question, Pete. So,
don't worry, I got a backup. I got a follow-up one too.
No worries. So when I was down there pre-running before the race, taking the marks race course of the line that's on the GPS and basically just followed that all during pre-running. But at the same time, knowing that there was another road over there, because we had used it, I believe in 11 or 12, we had used it, and that other road, we were headed the other direction. So I knew the road was over there, but I figured he would have marked it that way. And there's a reason why he didn't mark it that way. So during pre-run, I never went over there. I just stayed to the left and ran on the twisty, windy, tedious road down there to the VCP. And when I came to the driver's meeting, there was some hubbub about, that there was another line there. And I was like, yeah, I know, or another road. I wouldn't even call it a line at the time. I knew about it and hadn't pre-run it. And during the driver's meeting, the race director, Jose G, brought it up that it was okay to run. And I instantly, grabbed my phone and started looking at Google Earth and, trying to look at the road and study the twists and the turns in that road to make sure, how do I get on it? Where do I get off? And so we ended up, taking that road because I knew how much faster it would be and how much less of a chance you'd have of getting the flat or doing something, and also the possibility of passing somebody. So during the race, we took that road, and, as I got down there closer to the corner, I started realizing there was quite a few spectators there, and I was wondering, is there going to be a road that's going to take me right back into the VCP, or is there not? And obviously there wasn't. So tried to go down through there on the video and get around the people. And as I was going around, I actually was in my head, I was starting to think, to try to cut to the right if you'd seen the video. And actually, I would have missed the VCP, but luckily my co-writer said, don't forget about the VCP. So that's why I pretty much did almost a full circle coming back to make sure that we got the VCP. And yeah, pretty sketchy. I was surprised that Jose opened that up in the driver's meeting. To me, it would have been very simple for him just to shut it down and say, no, you can't go that way. I don't even think he would have had to add an extra VCP or anything. He just said, all he had to say was, if you're caught on that road, you will be disqualified. Instead, he opened it up and let us do it. And he did warn us about the spectators, to always be aware of that. But that's, for me, I'm thinking about spectators no matter where we are. So I guess hopefully that answers your question, Pete.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've gone to Cameron's school of how to answer a tough question by dragging it out. No, you safely rejoined the race course, and we
You didn't run over any easy ups.
You didn't run over any spectators or easy ups, so yeah, I mean that's all right. It's just we are trying to work together here. We're talking about getting a group of drivers together with Jose G to possibly add some VCPs to keep everybody on the main line when we're going by the large spectator areas.
So other than other than pounding the rock, Rob, did everything go as planned for you?
Pretty much. I guess in a way I would have. I went down 2 weeks before and pre-ran the weekend with my son and got around basically a lap and a half, and then I didn't come back down until Wednesday. So I pre-ran Thursday and Friday, which I felt, as I'm back down there, I saw, wow, there's a whole bunch of people in here pre-running. There was new lines created, and I was, I thought I was scrambling, trying to, find the correct roads, and wish I would have had another day or two of pre-running. But other than that, I missed some lines. I was confused in a few places, and things didn't go flawless for me as far as what I would like to done. But yeah, I mean the race itself, the truck was flawless. Only the one flat tire, no other issues. As you all know how rough it is down there, and it's incredible to me what these trucks can do, and that they can do that for 320 miles for the most part, and
for sure,
not fail. I mean, it's crazy, especially you can all relate to Portacedis Road coming down that at somewhere around 100 miles an hour, and you basically just hear suspension getting slapped hard by the ground. It's like just the noise is just whack 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 whack, and you're like, man, it's incredible. But yeah, race went well. Obviously, when you win, everything's perfect. So
we still don't like you.
No, we don't like you very much, Rob. Hey, Rob, I got one other question. Starting position was premium for this race, and somehow Score mistakenly had an 11L in the drawing as well with your name on it. Did they really make a huge mistake, or what's the story with that, Rob?
Well, I'm over 50, right?
Yeah, I know that.
So a year ago, before San San Felipe, I was pre-running, and I was up at Borrego, and I ran into Clyde Stacy and some other guys, and they were talking about this new class, the Legends class, and I thought it was April Fool's to begin with. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why do we need another class? And as I learned more about it, found out it was real, and it was for people over 50, and people that maybe felt that they weren't competitive anymore with the younger guy. I started during that last year's pre-week of the race, started making jokes and funnies and thinking that it's for old farts and stuff like that. So anyways, I kind of thought it was funny, but when I went to sign up in 2017 for San Felipe, I asked Roger Norman if I could enter both classes, and he told me so I figured I could run one truck in two classes and try to win two classes in the same race with one truck. Well, I had really no intention of doing that, but when it came about for 2018, and props to Score for doing what they needed to do to get more entries. What it enabled or made me think about was, hey, once I saw we were getting the upper numbers of 30, close to 40 trophy trucks with the Legend trucks, which draw, for any of you guys that don't know, the Legends draw within the trophy truck class. Even though they're racing for their own trophy, they draw within, so a Legend could draw number one. And to that, a lot of us.
But instead of Squirrel drew number one.
So you think that if you're over 50, if you're over 50, you should get a regular starting spot chance and a Legend starting spot chance for the same truck and the same driver.
So I'll answer your question, Pete. There's a new rule now. I guess
it's the Rob Mack rule.
That you can't enter twice for one class. So my intention was
with one vehicle. Sorry.
Yep. What my intention was, and there was no rule against it when I did it, was I'm going to enter two numbers, 11 and 11L, and whichever one gets the best number, I'm going to take that one.
I agree. That's what you did. I just don't agree.
That's
with
enough.
it.
That's enough. All right, we're done.
We got to hear from some of the other drivers
talk
here.
about it because he did the same thing. He's as slippery as you, but it did pay off. You guys are 1-2.
Full season.
I have another one last question. One last question.
People are going to want to beat you up, Pete.
Now I got a follow-up. You'll like this one though. You and Andy are battling for the greatest of all time of desert racing trophy truck drivers. And
Andy's
you
here.
recently
Andy's
yard sailed it at the Mint 400. How could that be?
Well, I threw my mind out the window for a moment. What a lot of people didn't see in the video is I had caught up to Josh Daniel, and I bumped him a couple times, and
Josh is going to love that part.
I heard that too. I heard that you actually nerfed the RPM truck 1 or 2 times and smashed the bumper in, and he still wouldn't yield the position. Is that correct?
So I'm going to tell you the exact truth. So I come up and bump him the first time. We come through the infield. We went through the main pit. Then we leave there, and through the twisties, I caught right up to him in the corners. Probably had the chance to bump him in there. I didn't. We got out of there. We got on a fast straight road that was headed basically south towards state line, the California state line, and I came up and bumped him. He pulled to the left. He gave me half the road, didn't lift, and kept going, and then pulled back. I couldn't get him because I lost my momentum. Then pulled back in the road in front of me. We were getting close to that corner, and about the time that he checked up, I hit him real hard. And my intention was to try to pitch it and turn in underneath him and basically trim the corner and pass him. Well, by not being able to see in front of him and then also not doing that section of the course on the first lap, I didn't realize and should have known that the ruts were deep and the braking bumps were big. So when I turned the truck, it went in the air and then it landed sideways, caught, bicycled, and then went the other way and barrel rolled 4 times. So I blew it for a moment and was impatient, and that cost me a chance at winning the Mint.
So after the fact, did you wish you would have just pushed him through the corner, Rob?
That's kind of what I was trying to do. To be honest with you, it just didn't work out. I think it's because that truck has 2 motors. It was heavier than I expected. so I really didn't get to move him out of the way. But
I got a pretty good idea what's going to happen next time you catch that truck.
Well, my co-rider was really mad. He said, next time you catch him, you better send him. But Josh is a great friend, and I guess,
he ain't that great a friend if he didn't get out of the way.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I consider him a good friend, and I guess, I feel that when somebody comes up and hits me, they got me, and I move. Because the race, it's a long race, and I let it go. And I think that, in my mind, that's what I suspected him to do. I have no issues towards what happened, with him not pulling over, because, we are there racing. So
They were racing second and third position, I believe, at that time.
It doesn't matter. If you bump somebody and bump them again, they need to yield the position.
You guys agree? The trophy truck panel here. Where are you guys at on that? Someone bumps you, you get out of the way?
Yeah.
How many times did he got to hit you? Once?
Once.
The only time I say you don't do that is if you're starting side by side at the beginning of the race, and the guy you beat smashes you the first time you hit on the brakes. No.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other time, if somebody catches you, you must yield.
There's times when it's not, you don't do it. I got nerfed by Eddie Herbst. I got buttoned by Eddie Herbst. But it was on the pavement, and he crept up on me while I was staying at the speed limit. Right when we got in the dirt, he hit the button. And I was like, there's no way.
If I'm
not nerfed, sorry.
If it's less than 30 miles to go, and the guy who's nursed me either has to pass me to beat me or has to finish in my dust to beat me, and I started in front of him, or he started in front of me, not sure I'm going to move because you're going to win the race.
Yeah.
And just because he caught you, that's great. The gentleman thing to do is to pull over. But it's Baja 500.
Somebody bumps you, you got
Baja 500 mile 490, and Rob comes up and bumps me, and I'm like, hey, if I just run and I got the finish line right there, Rob pulled over for me early in the Baja 1000 when I bumped him. Amazing thing he did. I actually didn't even expect him to do that. Not saying I wouldn't do that or would do that. But if it's at the very end of the race and I have a chance to win and that guy desperately has to get around me to win, I'm not sure I'm pulling over.
All right, so a question kind of about that. The Stella units, they tell you when someone's behind you. Do any of you trophy truck guys actually look at the Stella unit? Or
Never.
Never. Yeah.
I will never pull over if you push a button.
Our Stella unit we use all the time with the bikes, and I felt like
it worked really good.
Probably 90% success.
For the bikes was phenomenal.
For other people in your class,
absolutely.
No way.
Yeah. They're not going to pull over because the light flash.
Unless they make it mandatory,
In Nora, if you run twice, they'll give you a penalty, they said.
Does anybody have any questions for Rob before we hang up on him?
Stop winning.
Stop winning, Rob.
I just think I do like where you went with the greatest of all time between Andy and Rob. I mean, I think there's a good conversation going on there. For my money, I'm still on the Rob thing. I'm sorry, Andy, you're sitting right here.
I'm on the Rob thing,
I think you're great.
No,
it's all good.
Rob didn't show up today, so he gets knocked down a notch.
Short course racer, and you haven't done it, and he kicks ass at both. But in the desert, I put money on either of you.
I don't know. Rob and I, last year, I won Parker. Rob won the Mint in San Felipe. I won the 500. Jason won Vegas to Reno. Who won the 1,000? Abdali.
Why didn't you win San Felipe? What happened with you in San Felipe in the recent one?
This year?
Yeah.
What happened to me? I don't know. Yeah, I just maybe I was tired from the new baby, like Fish's.
The odds were right
Fish's
on.
Odds said. No, I cut a tire. I hit a rock in a wash before Morelia Junction, mile 20. Didn't think I was going to get a flat, and got a flat. Pulled over by some pit guys, and we got it changed. It wasn't the fastest tire change. Witten got around me. Just one. RG was running pretty slow in the Potts truck off the start. I expected him to go by 2, but it was just Witten, and then I got by Witten again on the good lines at the bluffs at the entrance to Amarius Wash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Amarius the last wash.
Yeah. The first wash. Cuevitas Wash. Yeah.
What happened around me at the race?
I don't know what happened.
Alternator belts.
15 seconds behind Mizzou Road at mile 8.
He had like 3 alternator belts. So they had one go out. They had to pull over. They put a new one on. It made it 300 feet. That one went out, and then another one later in the race, I guess.
Okay.
So
I thought.
Something.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Rob.
Yes, sir.
You still there? Hey, we're going to let you go. Do you have any parting words for our panel here?
No, Rob says Andy's a badass, so there you go.
I agree. You guys are both.
His hat's not going to fit anymore after he said that.
Let me make it a little bigger.
Yeah, I'm adjusting it right now. Thanks for calling in, Rob.
Thanks,
So let's.
Rob.
We have our panel. Thank you, Rob. Beat it. Take your trophy and go somewhere else. See ya.
See you, Rob. Call me anytime when you have questions, Pete.
Yeah, I will too. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, so let's talk a little bit about San Felipe for each one of you guys real quickly. Maybe let's run through the panel. Anything that surprised you in the race that you didn't think was going to happen, or how was your plan? Did everything work as planned, so to speak? Danny. And there's people asking why you're so quiet today. A couple different people.
Dan needs to speak up.
Who said that?
A couple people.
I see Burrow's name.
How did your race go?
I had no issues. I had no flats. I had no nothing.
That's pretty incredible based on what happened
that was
before the race.
That was the surprise of the race.
You were a little snake bit before the race. Talk us through some of that. Do you have that video, Fish?
Rolled my pre-runner.
No, I don't.
12 miles an hour.
Fail.
Should have preloaded it.
So what happened?
Just off Portesius Road, we're making a right, and I didn't want to go left down the crap. I said, "Oh, we're done." Looks like we're done for the day. We go the highway, and I'm coming in. I go to kind of slide it, not trying to do anything dumb.
He's been watching too many BJ videos.
Householder with the comment there.
And the truck just kind of came around me, and I'm like, okay, thinking I'm just going to do a big donut this way, and it just caught like a little
berm,
and just kind of sat there for a second and went like that to my co-driver Stuart, and that's all right.
Don't beat up your cousin like that.
And we just,
one of you guys was stuck in your belts upside down.
Stuart was. I was laughing. I got mine off, and I unhooked him. He fell. His big old head.
I saw Dan later that week, and he said the main reason he jumped out so fast is so he could get it rolled back over before I got there with my camera.
Yes.
Seen him earlier in the day having fun in the wash.
Yeah, but tell me.
And then you had a window get broken too, right? Kind of surprised you. I
knocked off my MSAT antenna radio thing.
That's a big antenna.
It's a big branch. So I went to go turn around and go back in. I was in my dad's Bullets, 4-wheel drive, so I could turn around. And the same branch that hit me, it just kind of came, broke the back window.
But clean race.
Clean race.
What about you, Ryan?
For the most part, it was clean. Like Rob was saying, Rob got by me early. I was in Mikey.
What happened there? Let's talk about
I was in Mikey Lawrence's dust as soon as we turned left off of Zoo Road, and we know there's multiple lines in there too. And
about mile 13 for those of you guys not familiar with it. We turned up into a new wash we haven't raced uphill into.
It was actually a really fun wash, and there are multiple lines in there. And I kept on trying to get out of his dust and into another line. And every time I did, I picked the wrong line. And kind of like Rob was saying, I wish I had one more day of pre-running so I can kind of play with it a little bit more.
Me too.
And Rob hit the right line. So as I was screwing around trying to find another line around Mike, he was able to get around me. I didn't even know at the time that he did get around me there. And then so I continued to follow Mike all the way till we got into that other wash.
Did he pass both of you guys there?
I don't know if he got him yet.
No, Lawrence is still ahead at 50. I was changing a flat tire.
And I saw Adam there pulled over, and then same thing when we got into the other wash, heading towards 68 is once again I tried to get out of his dust into another line. And that I had pre-run both, and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have some clean air and see if I can charge and at least get around them, or do I follow him? So I'm like, I took the lesser of the two evils and found clean line.
Isn't it frustrating when you get to your next split and you didn't know Rob's ahead of you, and they're like, you're 18 seconds behind Rob?
I know, and I'm like, what happened? And I honestly didn't know because our radios were screwed up. I didn't even know Rob was there until I got to the finish line, and I saw him in front. I'm like, well, how the hell did that happen? And then I started looking back, started talking to some people, and then obviously Rob confirmed it again too, where he got around me. And then my team owner, who's an awesome guy, a guy named Kyle Washington. He's very new to the sport, and he wants to learn, and he's riding with me right now. And I got a flat, completely my fault, coming into Borrego. Came up over a rise, smacked the rock with my left rear. I knew right away it was flat, and so I'm like, I thought to myself, do I pull over? If I pull over, both of us are getting out and changing this.
Man, that thing ripped the side of your truck.
It did, and or I said, you know what? Or do I run on it to Borrego? I'm about a little more than 3 miles to the pit, And 3 miles is a long way to run on a flat tire. And
I'm sure your
so
brake lines can tell you that, too.
I know, exactly. And I was lucky enough it didn't do more damage besides just taking the fender off, but I figured that was the lesser of the two evils. But I did lose quite a bit of time running on it. I mean, I think the fastest we can go is 15 miles an hour to getting to the pit. And then we crossed the highway. I didn't see my guys because once again our radios weren't working, so I pulled into the BFG pit, and Adam's guys just happened to be there, and they were nice enough to change it for me, where I didn't have to have Kyle or myself get out, and that's where Andy got
nice of you, Adam.
Yeah, if they could have held him up for like 30 more seconds,
Yeah,
I
you
could have
should've
got
made
by.
Adam was back there too, so Adam was right behind Andy.
True story. One time we were leading the race overall, first on the road, and turned into one of the washes and suddenly had 3 flat tires. We had 2 spares. I came out of the wash, and Andy's pit was there. I pulled over. I'm like, hey, you guys, can I get a tire? They're like,
Adam fired all those guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my dad was one of them there helping. So I can't fire the boss man.
I know. I owe him a big thank you. And so our pit was only our fuel stop was only another 10 miles down the road, and so Andy had pulled into his pit at Borrego when I got going, and I was able to get back around him again. Pulled into our pit, and then Andy got around me again. But at the very beginning, my team owner, my navigator, didn't understand the whole armband thing, and the morning of the race, he took his armband off, and not thinking anything of it, they checked
brake lights.
Yep, they checked everything. So we pull up, and we're 3 from the start now, and they're asking for my armband. So I pull it, show it, and so I'm like, hey, they want to see your armband, and he's pulling it down, and I'm not seeing anything. He's like, and I'm like, well, what's going on? He goes, well, I took that thing off at breakfast. He goes, it was bugging me, and I'm like, oh crap. So Roger comes up. Roger's in the window, and Kyle signed everything.
And this is 3 minutes from the start.
I'm 3 trucks from taking the green, and they go back. They check to see if all his paperwork signed. He signed everything. Everything was good. And so Roger was gracious enough. Roger said, "Don't let this ever happen again." And I said, "I'll be the first to admit it all." I was very lucky. I thought our race was done.
One guys with the whole brake light assemblies apart.
If Roger,
we're still sitting there when we started. Yeah. Because they didn't have brake lights. And
if Roger could have held you up for another 3 minutes and 7 seconds, that would have been sweet.
Well, I'm the same way.
Thanks a lot, Roger.
There was a bunch of guys there, so I said, it was unfortunate. It was stupid. It was a rookie mistake on his part, not even knowing. He had no idea.
Okay, well, he's gonna have
I think that's at least a 3 minute 7 second penalty next time.
Not exactly. No, that's down. So what happened is he took his belt off because he was going to get out, and he forgot to put his clutch belt on. And so he buckled back in, and I got in-car video, and I'm watching the in-car video after the race, and I'm watching his seatbelts up into his chest, and because he keeps tightening them, he's getting looser and looser, and he keeps tightening them, and it comes further and further up. I don't know how he made it the entire race the way he did, especially on that race course. Never complained one time, never said one word to me, and I was blown away. And so we get to our pit when Andy finally went by us, and we pulled his seatbelts off so he can buckle them back up the right way, and he pulled them so tight that the adjuster, the stitching went into the adjuster, so he couldn't pull it off. So we spent another 2 to 3 minutes trying to get the adjuster out, and as we're trying to do that, Adam comes into our pit too because we're pitting together, and they're like, can you move forward? You know, Adam needs to get fuel and tires. So I'm like, yeah, no problem. We pull forward, they get it done, and I take off before Adam gets out, and then from there to the finish, it was fine. We cut back up to Andy because I think you ended up having another flat, and I knew we weren't going to get around him at that point, and so it was just a matter of following you to the finish.
What kind of truck is?
It's a Herb Smith Fab. Same as Adam. So
and when you say same, are they same?
They're
pretty much identical.
Pretty close.
The only difference is I have a Chevy. Everyone else is Fords, but everything is identical. We can all share parts, transmissions, axles, shock, everything is interchangeable, so it makes it really nice.
And how was your race, Adam? How'd it go for you?
It was pretty good.
First time back in San Felipe in a while?
I haven't been down to Mexico since 2012 racing. That was our last time doing it. So this was a fun race for us. Luckily, I'm about the only one that didn't complain about no qualifying. I started third, so I was okay with that. So my goal was just to trail yours and Menzies dust all day, and we were doing good up to mile 50. Slid into a big tree stump, got a flat, right in a ditch. Hard to change a tire. Watch 3 guys pass by, and stopped at mile 70 to get a tire. My crew guys informed me that I lost my jack handle. So now in the back of your head, I can't get another flat. So
Do you have a backup jack?
I do now. I do now, but I didn't then. You know,
There's so many jack handles in my truck. If you remember, Cameron, my jack handle's inside the truck. It spring loads in with a pin on it.
Yep.
So I lost so many.
In the cab.
Yeah, so I have it inside
So
the
you
cab.
put 'em
now.
inside the
It can't
cab.
come out, and it can't come out. Yeah, but it can't come out. It's got a safety pin on it.
and then if
So
it
you
falls
can't
out, your
lose it.
guys hold it. No, so we didn't know. And so like I said, that's always in the back of your head. You get a flat, you're done.
Just
So,
for the record, we have a backup jack on our truck, and sometimes two. Because
yeah, like I said, now our other one did, this one didn't. Now we'll have both jack and an air jack. But from there, we just tried to keep pace.
someone said the feet.
Andy
Drive
got,
careful.
yeah, Andy got me at a good line in Borrego. I would give him props for that because it was good. So they got pretty creative on that.
That was fun.
Wait, Andy got you in Borrego?
Yeah, just before.
Oh, I know that.
Come around the mountain. He's coming in. I just like, man, I'm sticking my hand
Did he
up,
happen
and
to
I'm
be
giving him a thumbs
sneaking out of the wash right in front of you?
up. Yeah.
I made that.
Right, it was perfect.
I think we got it. I mean, there's a lot of times that the lines are kind of unknown who did it, but I think we can give Dan McMillin credit for that because that goes back only about a year, and
Yeah,
still we're not
almost
going to
two.
say where it is.
We're not gonna say where it's at, but I had a pick and shovel, and I made it one night about midnight, 300,000.
Yeah, so there's definitely
It
gems
was
still
out there.
out
It was
there.
good. It was good.
Now you know where it is.
Oh, no,
Adam.
I'll be looking now. You know.
Tell you what, Adam was running a good pace because I caught up to his dust after his flat issues, and I think there was only one more truck in between us. But I mean, trying to just keeping up in his dust and just the pace he was going, I needed that line to get around him. He was running an impressive race.
Bam. So we're not going to say where the line was, but how far behind him do you think you were, and how far in front of him did you come out? Just so we know.
I was probably 30 to 40 seconds.
So did you get up on the wheel knowing the line was coming? Were you like, I'm getting on this. Here we go. Last 10 mile an hour speed right now.
Yeah, but I'd already had one flat, so I didn't want a chance hitting another rock and getting another flat. And instead of making up 30 seconds, I lose 2.5 minutes. So I just kept it cool, and I said, hey, if I get him, I get him. If not, I got a pit up here. A lot of guys are pitting up here, man. We'll get him in the pits.
Right
Yep.
on.
I was hoping you were going to pit, and I didn't realize you got in between Arcerio because I'm like, I know he's got a pit at 140 something, and we saw you just pop out right in between us, and it was like, damn.
Well, I saw a Herb truck go by in the pit, and I was like, is that householder that close to me? Oh my gosh, because it was like 10, 15 seconds after I pulled in. I'm like, man, he's on it. And then I pulled out, and then as I got further up the course, then I saw Ryan sitting up on the hill in his pit.
So reflecting for me, I mean, we can get some more reflections from Andy. I made some big mistakes. I needed another day pre-running. We purposely waited until the end of pre-running to do 14 to 7. Lost an underdrive in the pre-runner and didn't have a backup pre-runner other than my bike, which my guys didn't really want me in the bike. So Bean, who we had someone at Morelia, we had him by minute 22. When we came out at 60-something, he was right on us, I'm pretty sure. But I made a huge mistake in there and ended up not only offline but having to overland to go back to the track. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. No one was around. But I was like, we're going to lose track position because I got lost. And I can't even tell you how embarrassing that is to say, but that's just the fact. We gave up a good 90 seconds in the beginning of the race being offline, and then at least another minute to not having the lines because we didn't do our homework in that last section going into 68. I did know about the right line, but we stayed on the left there.
That was confusing. That wash coming in
There was a
68
lot
was
of
confusing.
there was a lot of opportunity in there if you made the time to check it out. And when we broke down in there, we were out there parked. We could hear guys out there on the other lines, but we just didn't have the time to get back out there.
And
so,
see, to that point too is especially if you're in someone's dust, it sometimes it may be a little longer, but at least get yourself out of the dust and see if you can't capitalize on something, even though it might be longer. Because sometimes you get in that dust and it's you can get a flat being in it. You're losing a little bit of time. So that's what happened to me. Is kind of the same thing. Is get myself out of the dust, even though I know it's a longer line, and just chance it, see what happens. So and I probably lost me time.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wanted to welcome Bryce Menzies, who's watching online. Christian Serapis is online. Casey Curry is online watching. So some big hitters joining us here. Super stoked to have you guys. Someone asked me specifically if I felt a lot of pressure. And really, I didn't feel any pressure being first off the line. The only thing I was concerned about, of course, is spectators, wrong-way vehicles, and being the first one to catch the motorcycles. I do want to say that I thought the motorcycles did an exceptional job. I got one quad that I had to follow for about 45 seconds that really put a damper on us. The craziest thing I saw was at Morelia Junction, there was a non-race motorcycle coming backwards on the graded road, right?
Did he have no sleeves?
Yes.
Yeah.
On a KTM.
Yeah. I'm like, who's this clown with no sleeves?
Yeah.
There's a race number. I go,
non-race motorcycle coming at me. So, you got on the Morelia Road the first time.
Yeah.
And the rollers are there. You're like, okay, we can do these, pretty good speed. And all of a sudden there's a bike. I'm like, oh, my biggest fear right here. And then on the
you have a helicopter above you?
we did, but they didn't call it out. They didn't see him fast enough. And our helicopter was really good on safety stuff.
Yeah.
And they actually let us know. We had a Suzuki Samurai coming down the race course on the dry lake bed at speed coming directly at us in the line. And he had a buddy behind
You
him.
guys are really paying attention when you race.
Yeah.
Like, that's a Suzuki Samurai. That's not a cheap important thing.
No, I have this crazy sense of everything around me. Like I see like everything in slow motion when I'm racing. It's really crazy. And the Samurai guy. So we're on the lake bed. There's a bike, us, Samurai plus one, and other vehicles off to the right coming against traffic. I'm like, what is going on out here? And so that was the craziest stuff I saw. I did have someone run across the course and stumble, which they were far enough away, thankfully. But that stuff's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, we just want to remind everybody at home, if you're watching and you have a question for anybody, just put who it's to and what the question is, and Fish will read it off.
Christian Serapis wants to know how the air conditioning was, Andy.
Oh, I got some for the 500.
You got some too now?
We're getting two of them in ours as well.
You want to get two over there?
Start line.
How are those things, Andy? Those things work pretty good? Tell everybody what we're talking about.
How does it work?
I think so. They're electric air conditioners. They draw pretty big amperage, so they're not super popular from a lot of people. But I do it because I want to be comfortable in the race truck. And
it runs through a cool suit, or just blows in your
No,
helmet?
it just blows in your helmet, just cold air.
You can adjust the temp. You can adjust, how
it's
cool.
got 4 fan speeds and
it's pretty
4
bitchin'.
temperature controls.
Don't tell anybody about it, because
Fish put
everybody
it all on
always
FishGistics on my thing, and
everyone thinks
go
country
Fish.
clubbers are spoiled already.
No,
They do cost a pretty penny.
Now we got
when
air conditioning.
you're racing, it's so hot. It could have been hot air blowing through or freezing cold air. You wouldn't notice the difference. It's not crazy. I've noticed a lot of Parker.
Todd Tenbrook, Brad Wilson, and Cody Parkhouse all on board with us here. Brad Wilson talked about the facts. The motorcycles were caught so early. So I predicted early on that we'd be in
Great question, Brad.
by mile 80. At mile 81, we passed our first moving dirt bike, which was absolutely insane. And it's just crazy.
Why did Roger start them that close?
Because they couldn't come in the finish. If you would have started them
That is
farther
such a
apart,
lame excuse.
they would have been coming in the finish as cars were still leaving. That's why.
There's so much
but
desert
what they
in
could have done,
Mexico.
in my opinion, is that a couple miles out of the town where the course crossed back
You can
onto
stop
itself,
the bikes
the
somewhere
motorcycles
else.
there, stop them there, and then just have them do a parade, like Dakar parade section back into town on the other roads.
Yeah,
That's
I
probably
didn't
what they could
agree
do
with
in the
that
future.
at all.
The problem is bikes aren't getting faster. Their tires aren't getting bigger.
I actually believe the bikes are getting slower.
They're getting
because
slower
there's
because the
less
holes are
factory
getting
efforts.
Bigger. Holes are
There's-
getting bigger.
The holes are getting bigger, and obviously the trucks are getting faster.
It's not. It's only. Well, it wouldn't have been bad. It's 20 to 30% of the bikes and
We
quads
caught
that
all-
are the problem.
We
The
caught
sportsman
all
ones?
but
The
11
Ironman over 50
We caught-
sportsman
we
amateur
caught all but
classes.
11 dirt bikes and ATVs. Is a stat.
11?
12th overall finished behind us
Wow.
Physically.
So what
scary.
do we think an answer is? What is it? I know we've
I
all
think-
talked about this. Is it starting those guys or having the pros go and then starting everyone else behind?
Well, the 1,000, they started them the night before, remember? They started them way early at the 1,000.
Why don't we do that anyway? Like in San Felipe, why couldn't
Yeah.
they have started the bikes at 3 in the morning?
And then they would have been done before the first cars finished,
Right.
maybe?
So here's the reason
I
why
don't
the
know.
bikes don't start at 3 in the morning generally, because there's
No
less
helicopter in
opportunity
there.
for safety, rescue, helicopter
In the dark.
when it's dark. Now at the Baja 1000, I think because it was more a graded road, it's more of a I don't want to say easier track, but it's not as risky with the hidden rocks and stuff.
I agree to a point, but if, like at the Baja 500, if they have to ride in the dark anyway, why don't they ride in the dark when they're fresher than after they've already raced for 12 hours, then ride in the dark?
Well, I think at
That's
the
a good
Baja
point.
500, if it's going to the lower part of the course too, I mean, the bikes don't want to be out there in the middle of the day. I don't want to be out
There's
there
a
in the
couple
middle of the day.
sections in this race where they could have had cut off.
For sure.
Like
There was
Watamote
definitely
Wash.
They
So
had a
going
class
right
11,
toward Matome,
like a
just
different
make them,
class
yeah,
11s.
Yeah, it's like San Felipe. That's just go left.
And I think for me, there's a lot of talk about parking the bikes if they get caught. I'm okay with that too. I mean, I think the problem that everybody's looking at is that everybody should be able to race the race, which I agree with. In a perfect world, you could race the bikes the day before, but what you get when the bikes are not racing the day before is you don't have all the infrastructure of the other race teams that do have helicopters, because in this particular situation, between a race team and a helicopter, they were instrumental in saving a motorcycle rider's life. More than likely, I can't comment exactly because I don't have the exact information, but there was a motorcycle rider that needed attention, and it was a trophy truck.
The Ampudia kids stopped and saved him.
Right? Yeah. And a helicopter landed, and they had a medic on board. So if you race the bikes on a different day, suddenly you lose all that infrastructure. That's something you definitely have to take into consideration. Sure. Because the bike guys don't have helicopters, or for the most part. There might be one or two.
I agree with having the bikes start earlier, and as long as the bikes are making a good pace, they're fine. But the super slow bikes, if they're caught by the trophy trucks, it's over for them. If you're not experienced,
if I'm an amateur or a sportsman or a first-time guy on a motorcycle in any race, and I get caught by one trophy truck with a lot of race still to go, and I know how many are going to come breathing down my neck, I don't see the motivation.
It can't be fun
to want to keep going.
But they do.
No, I think
they don't know the difference.
I think part of it is that they want to stop in the middle of the desert. It's gnarly. First of all, it was well into the 90s, if not more, and a lot of that. So stopping is not a popular thing to do on a dirt bike. Take it from a dirt bike rider. It gets hot real quick when you're stopping.
I don't mean stop, but you have to remove yourself from the track, and you're not allowed to be on the line with the trophy trucks.
Right. No, I agree with you.
It was a Menzies helicopter that landed. Someone watching says they were the one with the medic that helped the guy at the San Felipe race.
Save the guy.
Yeah. Welcome Kenny Kruder from Bulletproof Diesel and Tim Sanchez to the mix. Great to have you guys on board. I think that this is a debate that needs to be had. I've been a big proponent of not having the bikes so close to the trucks. We've talked about this time and time again. There's topics that are near and dear to many people's hearts. I sometimes don't think the bike guys really realize. I talked to a first-timer in San Felipe, and he's like, well, when do you think you're going to catch the bikes? I'm like, a lot sooner than most of the bikes think. And I said, the good news for you is the first car on the road is someone who understands the bike situation, so there will probably be some patience. He asked me, what should we do? I said, well, don't pull out in the dust, and if you're in a spot where you can hang out for a little bit, I'd let the first 10 trucks go by.
And there's got to be better education on our part, on the promoter's part, to let the bikes know, hey, on the Baja 500 last year, coming in from K77 to Ojos, it's 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night. You have to know, even if your motorcycle does not have radio comms with your pits calling out, hey, trophy trucks came through Valley T and they're like 30 minutes behind you, like they might be catching you. There has to be self-awareness. I know fatigue and you get tired and dehydration for the bike guys sets in. Bike guys are gnarly. Don't get me wrong, but there has to be some self-awareness to know, hey, it's getting late in the day. It's almost dark. I'm coming to the finish. The trucks are probably coming.
I talked to Jose G about this very topic, and I was like, hey, you have 200 people around the race course, whether they're flagging for the road, they're waving race cars off, or the race, onto the dirt again, road crossing crews, checkpoints. Every one of them should have a dry race board, and it should say trophy trucks 15 minutes
split.
back.
Yeah.
Just tell them, let them know. I mean, if they don't have the comms.
Here's the part that's a problem. To my knowledge, the first trophy truck on the road has never been the one getting in contact with the bikes. It's always, the bikes have already been passed by 10 trophy trucks, and then the 11th one is the one that clips.
Well, it's when 2 or 3 of them in the dust of each other. Right. The first one goes by, they pull back out.
It's never the first truck that, to my knowledge, gets in contact with the bike. I want all the bikes there. I want all the handlebar guys. I want all the quad guys.
For sure.
But we have to make it safer with the speeds of the trophy trucks. And, the bike guys say it's trophy truck guys' fault because, it's their responsibility to miss us. And I'm like, we're out here to win. You guys are all out here to win. And we're hauling ass in the dust. And we don't, and you're driving in the dust behind another truck.
I was first truck on the road at the 500 last year.
Yeah.
After K77 coming toward Ojos and passing numerous motorcycles and quads, and I almost hit a guy. There was a split line right there when you jump off of the good graded road
at this race
under the trees. No, the Baja 500. Sorry. and he went right. My helicopter's been buzzing him for, the latter part of 5 or 10 minutes, and they also don't know what that means for whatever reason, or they think they're on camera or getting filmed, but you're not. And so my helicopter's buzzing him. They're not listening. He comes around to the right. I'm cutting through the trees on the whooped out, road under the trees. And I think he sees me because, this line comes in like this and this one's going straight. So he's basically going to T-bone me. And I pop out. He's here. He lays his bike down. I slam on the brakes. I mean, that almost every race, there's something like that. It's way too close, way too often. And the bike has no chance against the trophy truck.
Cameron, you're a bike guy. What is your solution?
Well, one of the things that I don't like is that everybody can race, and I know that that's Score's credo, that everybody can come race. I think there should be some qualification system.
For bikes or trophy trucks?
I think trophy trucks and bikes, personally, there should be some licensing or some qualification. The thing that really gets me is the bike guys that are elbows down, sitting down, obviously beyond tired, barely making it along. I mean, we're talking about possible averages as low as 15 miles an hour, which I'm not saying anybody needs to go faster. Don't go faster. Just be prepared. And I think what happens is you get these guys that want to solo, or guys that don't know how rough it's going to be, that don't pre-run. They get out in a situation where it's 95 degrees. They're not prepared to run. I mean, it sounds great. I'm going to run 120 miles.
Okay, but let's say we're going to keep the rules the same. Anybody can race. How do you make it better? Why can't we start the bikes way before the trucks? Because the bike guys don't want to start in the dark?
I don't have the answer why.
Why don't you start the trucks at 5 a.m. and then start the first bike at noon?
I think part of the reason they don't do the trucks in front of the bikes is because they're worried about trucks having a problem and then getting going again and being mixed in with the bikes.
Or the bikes passing the slower limited cars, I think.
Now, what if you start the trucks at 5 a.m. and then you give an hour break, and then the bike's starting? If a bike catches the truck's out. I mean, it's just fair is fair, right? We're saying, and some people are saying park the bikes if the trucks catch them. Maybe it's got to be the same way for the trucks. I mean, I think the problem is, and Jeff Falzone from Giant Motorsports said it really well here, San Felipe is just too short of a race to have the bikes and the trucks on the same track in a tight time frame.
That's for sure true.
And if you space them out, just have the finish be at a different spot so that they're not coming back in on the start.
I think the finish should be separate completely. We should race at speed.
Not the same
coming in the finish line this race, too many people. We should have been 45 miles an hour.
The finish on the Malecon was really cool. That was my first time racing San Felipe. And with the start finish on the Malecon, the start isn't necessary to be on the Malecon.
Right, the finish is cool.
The finishing right there on the beach, you got the bars and the restaurants, the taco shops, all the fans. That's the best part.
Yeah.
So,
but I think you can do more limited speed coming into town.
We should have.
I think you can do it. Whoa, that just happened live on FishGistics. Dan McMillin goes down. Are you all right, Danny? Is he all right, Ryan?
You okay?
Did you get the shot? Did Pete get the shot? Did you get the shot?
Push him back in the water. He'll be okay.
Oh my! If you're not sharing that, you should.
All right, here we go.
It's an old chair. It's an old chair. Right?
Here comes Travis Clark with the save.
Mine might be next year.
Yeah, that's going to be a lawsuit on Cameron on
Wow.
Holy shit. That scared the shit out of me.
Oh, man.
Stop going to the gym. Let's go to the gym.
Andy, any thoughts?
Oh my God.
Comments regarding Sam?
I can feel it start to slip out.
Oh, jeez.
I can actually feel it start to slip out. I'm like, oh, fuck.
I'm telling you guys you got to go in a few minutes, too, because you guys got to catch the train.
That was awesome.
Somebody please get a screenshot
That was
amazing.
I'm going to slow-mo that thing down for sure.
There's got to be a slow-mo version of that. Someone's scrolling that back right now and capturing that on their phone.
So good.
Please post.
That'll probably be a meme by the time it's done.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'm sweating.
Hey, so Andy, any thoughts before we're going to wrap this up pretty quick? You guys want to thank Team Ford in Las Vegas, of course, for their support, and everybody for making the time. And, of course, we can heckle Luke a little bit. He's watching online, and he wasn't able to make it. But, Andy, how was the race for you overall, and your thoughts moving forward into the Baja 500? Start position.
Yeah, so I just had 2 flats. It hit 2 rocks, and it cost me the race. But, happy with where we finished, top 5 starting spot for the Baja 500. I started 5th last year at the 500. And, got a lot of heavy hitters around us in a really good position. Baja 500 is my favorite race of the year. I just love the time of year down in Baja, the places we go. I'm crossing my fingers that I'm hearing we're going to San Felipe, but I really hope we're not going to San Felipe. I think I've seen enough San Felipe for the next 5 years.
Soft. I got a
was-
question
it
for
was
you.
horrible.
Would you have raced San Felipe if it wasn't the qualifier for the Baja 500?
No.
How about you, Dan?
Rogers?
Dan, you raced it?
Yeah.
You usually race
Ryan?
it, right?
We wouldn't have, no.
Adam?
I did it for fun. So now with the 7th, we'll show up
Are
at
you
500.
going to the 500? That was going to be my question before.
I'm kind of open. San Felipe was on our schedule. We just went down to have fun. And, hey, if we did good, we'll go to 500, but I'm open.
You had a great
Would
starting-
you sell your starting spot
Oh,
to
I could
someone
sell-
else?
I could sell my spot. I'm up to anything.
Yeah, you could.
you
So
go.
here, you could team up with somebody.
He would have to be the driver of record, correct?
Yeah, so I would, if you weren't thinking about racing, the first call I'd make is to Clyde Stacy and start talking to him about that. No, I'm just kidding. Because he's got 2 trucks that need starting positions, right? Clyde's
few
truck
people.
and Justin's truck, right?
Abdali.
The Dolly.
How did
Right, or
Dolly
did he
finish?
He finished
He's
back
back.
there.
It's like 18.
No, he lost the underdrive, I think, off the start.
But I don't know how that
He was
works.
21st.
How does that
Did
work on
finish
the
21st.
How does that work with the points? So if you're racing under a
Yeah, I
different
don't know.
number,
It would-
I don't think that works.
It
right?
wouldn't work with points.
It would only
It would
work
be
on starting
Adam's.
position. It would be your points.
It'd be his points.
So
Yeah.
that
Like I
wouldn't
said.
work because they're racing for the championships, right?
Yeah.
So now for the Baja 1000, is the Tijuana race the qualifier for the Baja 1000?
No, which we need to start talking to
They're
them
still
about.
qualifying.
Yeah.
That'll be on the
Qualifying.
next
This conversation.
That'll be on the next show.
That's a
I
side
didn't
note.
know what the deal was.
No, we got to go short course racing.
We got to go short course qualifying.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys did a good job last year.
I'm all for
Thanks.
qualifying.
Yeah, yeah. So where
thought
did you
it
guys
was
change drivers? How far? Like right there
In the wash.
In the wash.
Yeah, I got a hold of Jose G and asked him where's a safe spot where I'm not going to get a penalty 50 feet off. And I said I'd like to do it in the wash somewhere.
It's interesting to me because the bike guys change right like 50 feet off the start line. That's not legal.
I just
It's a little
just
quicker
because
on a
someone
bike, I guess.
qualified for me and they did way better than what I was anticipating and probably what everyone else thought he was going to do. Brandon Arthur, by the way, he qualified 3rd, and so I didn't want us to win the race and then someone goes, "Hey, you guys pitted on the pavement on the left turn,
Good point.
and you got a 15-minute penalty because now we're getting penalized."
Since you had so much fun in San Felipe and how much you like it down there, would you have rather did short course qualifying for the Baja 500 or did the 319 miles at San Felipe to get the spot you're in now?
I'd rather race San Felipe than do
Really?
short course.
You're
qualifying.
totally against the
It has nothing to do with off-road desert racing.
I agree.
It's short course racing.
but they have to do it somewhere. And
I'm all right with short course
It's
racing,
their
but I
thing.
don't think it has any spot to do
No,
the
trophy
Baja
truck.
1000 qualifying. in my
I
opinion.
think to have the biggest race of the year be starting positions determined by a short course race that has nothing to do with our sport. Well, it does have something to do with our sport and short course racing. This is off-road desert racing.
is that for
In the
sure what they're
desert.
going to do at the 1,000 or nobody knows?
That's what's on the
That's what they're
agenda.
saying.
It is.
That's on the
Oh,
agenda.
okay.
But
Pete, we've been asked this question 4 times.
Yes.
Are we going to see the number 2 back in Score Trophy Truck Racing this year?
Hopefully.
Well, you can't
They
because
gave my number
it's
away.
under Smiley.
Yeah, they gave my number away.
Well, you know those guys good enough. They're guys. There's friends. You can get your number back.
Yeah, they think they
Do what?
nothing. I'd love to get back into trophy truck racing, but I have to get my agent on board to find me some money.
Travis Clark's your agent. He won't even represent me on deals.
No.
By the way, you guys,
He's not really.
I've seen you guys bicker at each other so hard on the internet. And to see you guys talking civilly
Here's
and
what
just
happened.
having good conversation today,
I got
and
this-
I think it made my day.
Andy,
seriously.
I got this call to do the show Truck Night in America. I want everyone to watch it. It's cool. It's on Thursday nights on History Channel. And they send me this contract that's this thick. And I'm like, oh, shit. I start reading it. And then I'm like, oh, no.
I gotta call Travis.
I send Travis a text. I go, oh, my God. I need your help. And I go, ... I know it's going to cost me. And he immediately calls me up and says, hey, what do you need? That's what a nice guy is, even though I call him a dipshit online. That's how good a guy Travis Clark is. He sifted through that whole mess, and we're going to be able to do something, hopefully.
Nice.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, you guys. Time's coming up here on FishGistics. Thanks again for Team Ford, Steve August, for sponsoring us. Before we go, quickly blurt out your top 5 for the Baja 500, even though we're going to have a show about the Baja 500. You guys want to start? You guys want to send it? You guys ready to say it? You scared? You nervous?
Who's going first?
Who's going to be in the top 5? Or we're trying to pick the winner?
The winner's in the top 5.
All right, I'll go. Or who's starting?
You got to go with the 2 cheaters up front.
I'll go. Wow. Okay, I'm going Rob, obviously. I'm not going to say your name yet, Cameron.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to say Luke, Andy. I'm going to go Bean in Bryce's truck, or Bryce in Bryce's truck. I'm not sure, Bryce. You want to help us with that? And, and then between Cameron and Dan.
You guys are really slowing down the show.
Go ahead.
All right, go quick.
Oh, the winner's coming from one of the top 5 spots. Guaranteed.
I agree with that. That I think the winner's going to come from the front of the pack. I think definitely there's some space to open up on this course. I think even guys that are starting way back, if they get a gap, can make a run. I think Andy did that at Vegas Torino a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So we can't count out some of these hitters that are further back in the pack. But I like
much time can be given up.
I like the first 4 opportunities for sure.
All right, what about these guys?
And who's 5th? Ryan. Ryan. How do you choose against any of those guys up front? And I think that I'd like to see the Ampudias have a great finish just out of pure good sportsmanship.
Is Ryan driving the whole way at the 500?
I'm going to drive the whole way at the 500. So I'll have my trusty team owner navigator with me.
And I said this before, that if I didn't pick the 16 to win, I wouldn't be a race car driver. So every time we go to the race, we're convinced we're going to win. So I just wanted to be clear about this.
We've all been doing this way too long to think otherwise. So I would agree.
I won't say it, but I'm just saying that's the way we think.
So Ryan, who's your other 4?
That's the reason I'm going to the Baja 500.
Who's your other 4?
I do have to agree with you guys. The top 5 spots are you're going to see your winner with, right in that group right there. Obviously, I'm preferential. I hope it's going to be us in the Levi truck. It'd be awesome to see that truck come across the finish line first, and I know I'm long overdue. Cameron, I know you are too.
I don't think
it's been a while for
the
me.
Right
so.
of you likes the top 5 comment there, because the guy on the right of you is starting 6th.
It's broken.
Danny, you had a great run at San Felipe. What are you feeling about the Baja 5? Anybody thinking about having a second driver at the 500?
I am.
Yes, Dan. You're looking right at me.
I'll tell you something. When I raced with Pete, he was one of the best drivers I've ever raced with. I'm just going to tell you that.
Wow.
And not just because he
You want to borrow some money?
No.
Who are you picking, Dan? Who's your top 5?
I think the top 5 is going to have 2 McMillins in it. I don't know which 2 of the 3.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
Rob and Cameron, and I'm going to go sleeper Billy Wilson in the top 5.
There you
Wow.
go. All right, Adam, what about you?
I think Billy's incredibly fast.
Of course,
Because if I'm looking at
Do you think Billy has the experience? Think he's ready for that? I know he won San Felipe before.
if he has a clean run, he could be up there because there's a lot of guys in the middle there that I think he'll have no problem catching.
Well, there you go.
Neil Mason says Dan will fall out of the seat again.
Adam, who you picking?
my goal is, I want to win a score race, so we run the 500. We're going to give it hell. Can never pick out Rob MacCharen, Andy.
2 more.
Menzies, always strong, especially Justin. And my wild card is Abdali.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. You can't count out Abdali.
Yeah.
See him all the way down there. But
He's
For somehow.
Where does he start?
can
Where is he on the list?
21st.
21st.
With a good.
It's not as big of a deal at the 500 as it is San
I
Felipe.
don't know. That's a lot of traffic to come through.
But look what Luke did.
Even some of these guys that
Yeah,
have
but
issues
San
of
Felipe's
starting
actually
there are quick. They're quick
Yeah.
enough to stay in front of you, but slow enough to hold you up.
Yeah.
There's just a lot
For a
of
guy like Abdali.
To me,
I think
there's way more
Ampudi is a
single
good
line
pick,
there
too.
than at San Felipe.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a lot more traffic can cause you
I think when we
problems.
started last year, the front group, really the first 10 trucks, it was a follow the leader all the way till we got to the bottom of the Mike's Road, and it was just people taking themselves out along the way, right? Bryce was parked, BJ flipped it over.
Well, unlike San Felipe, you're not getting creative with lines as much, as you do in San Felipe, and it is. You got a fast guy in front of you, and you're able to say, if you get 2 fast guys, you're going to get within 30 seconds of them, 20 seconds of them. That's about it.
That's good for BJ, or I'm sorry, Abdali too, and BJ, they're in a fast group there with Billy Wilson and Robbie Gordon, all 4 of them together coming from like that 19, 20, 21, and 22 spot. They can get together and make a run from that spot.
Well, I just see that San Felipe has multiple lines, and you saw Luke came from the back and ended up third, correct?
Yeah, he was winning on time for a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could be done there. The 500 is just more difficult.
Yeah,
more
when we left our pit at 143, we got going down the road and turned down towards the lake bed, and we got the splits from the pit. And they're like, Luke's winning.
And then Luke told me that he had some traffic in the second half of the race, and that's what knocked him back.
We all had
So
traffic.
he got held up by BJ and Matomi.
Oh, he did.
Bad.
Not to throw any names out there, but
All right.
You're supposed to hit them if they're in the way.
Hey, so hopefully you guys love the FishGistics coverage from the races. It's been a lot of fun. We didn't talk much about the Mint 400. I know we were talking about that. We just ran out of time with everything we're doing here at San Felipe. Hats off to the winner there. Who won, by the way?
The Mint 400?
Yeah.
Bryce.
Bryce. Oh, Bryce Menzies. Good job, Bryce.
He hurt his
Congratulations
back,
on that.
but he will be back for the 500. Bryce will be back for the 500.
We got a kind of semi-nod there. Anyway, we want to thank Travis Clark for being our camera operator. Thanks to the Baja HQ. That's our shop where we're at right now, Desert Assassins Race Trucks behind us. You guys can buy all your off-road aftermarket stuff here, shocks, wheels, tires, lifts.
Go buy a truck from Team Ford and then bring it here.
Yeah, that's what we do.
See?
That's what we do. We bring all our team. Every vehicle we buy is from Team Ford. No doubt.
My vehicle's from there.
You got to support Steve, man. I mean, especially he's so good to this sport.
He has been so good.
And he's just such a nice guy. I have my Raptor outside. That's where I got it from. So I mean, if you're in the market,
in the desert racing community, the right deal.
he does. He does. Absolutely.
He'll fly you out there, pay for your flight, pick up your car, drive it home.
Yeah, so I want to thank Fish, of course, for making FishGistics happen. We're all here to support you, so try not to crap on yourself. If you fail, if you fail with this group coming to support you,
I know
you're in big trouble. I would never open another business again.
I'm just going fishing then.
All right, just make
I want to thank Rob Mack for calling in.
For
He was
sure.
supposed to be here so we could give him hell, but he did call in and he did answer the tough
Luke,
questions.
have fun in Hawaii, Luke.
And let's not forget there is a FishGistics golf tournament coming up.
Yes,
You want to
July 21st, real quick. July 21st in San Marcos. We're doing the first annual
that's San
FishGistics
Marcos.
charity tournament. Yeah, San Marcos. July 21st. What did I say?
I'm not sure. But thanks, Andy, for making the time, coming down.
Absolutely.
Danny, great work. Sorry about the chair. You forgive me. Ryan,
I'm sure the music are.
Congratulations on the Levi's deal. Real quick before we sign off, the Levi's deal, that's just so massive for our sport.
It's awesome, and you're right. It's cool because we got a sponsor that's not it's non-endemic. They're not part of the racing industry, and they are a global brand. They're just a cool brand, and we hope to do more with them moving forward. Kyle, my team owner's close with the guys that run Levi, so the truck looks cool. Troy Lee Designs did the whole scheme. It's just clean looking, so super excited.
Right on. And Adam, thank you for being here. Congratulations on a great finish. We look forward to seeing you at the Baja 500 as we do all of our panel here and Rob Mack, who was here. Pete, I hope to see you in a trophy truck sometime soon. If not, great luck in a trophy truck.
I'm going to be teaming with Dan.
There you go, second driver.
500.
Danny, huh?
We like to pre-run together.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for logging in. Please share before you close out so that your friends can see it, and try to support FishGistics and all the sponsors that support our sport. God bless you all, and, of course, all our thoughts and prayers with those that involved in the accident, San Felipe 250, something we're definitely thinking about. And to everybody, we say adios from Baja HQ and FishGistics. Thanks, boys.